my fellow exorcists, and welcome to the Lair of the Film Exorcist. Tonight, Film Exorcist and I will be reviewing The Amazing Spider-Man. Abandoned by his parents and raised by an aunt and uncle, teenage Peter, Andrew Garfield, aka Spider-Man, is trying to sort out who he is exactly and what his feelings are for his first crush, Gwen Stacy, Emma Stone. When Peter finds a mysterious briefcase that was his father's, he pursues a quest to solve his parents' disappearance. His search takes him to Oscorp and to the lab of Dr. Kurt Connors, setting him on a collision course with Connor's alter ego, the Lizard. Let's dive into this one.
I'm gonna say it's one of the better of the two. It's I've never really thought about the Peter's parents mystery. Like, apparently in the comics there is this whole big thing about them being spies that worked with Nick Fury, and being killed by the Red Skull because they were played off as double agents. Other than that, I really didn't know anything about this, and I gotta give them credit for, making an effort to try and bring that to light, bring the mystery of Peter's parents, but I don't think it was really something that anyone cared about, because they've always thought of Uncle Ben and Aunt May as his foster parents, his actual parents, because they took care of him for years, and they're the most prominent people in the comics. With that whole quest they go on, it starts out with that, and then just as soon as we get with the Lizard and Peter becoming Spider-Man, they kind of drop it until the second film. I mean, it did lead us to Kurt Connors, who we did see in Spider-Man 3, but they didn't do with that until this movie. The design is pretty good. You can tell from this movie it's a lot more high-tech with all the spider technology, the injectors.
Definitely the CG is next, a level above where we were in the last trilogy.
It's definitely futuristic Spider-Man, and I think that's what the Amazing Spider-Man comics were supposed to be. It's bringing Spider-Man into the modern times. I also kind of like how they didn't go with the usual idea of Mary Jane. She doesn't appear at all in these films. They focus more on his relationship with Gwen Stacy, who, if I'm correct, is technically his high school girlfriend in the comic books, before he meets Mary Jane.
Right.
Which, it works. I mean, Emma Stone is a really great actress, despite me forgetting a lot of the movies that she's been in. Like you said, this movie was well casted. I mean...
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the last movie that Andrew Garfield was in was The Social Network.
I think so.
I feel like that makes sense, because I feel like that was 2010.
Oh yeah, he was. I liked Tobey Maguire, where he was more nerdy. He was the nerdy Peter Parker. Here, this is the cool Peter Parker that makes jokes. He's snarky. Tobey Maguire, again, great actor, but he can't be sad. He can't be depressed. He
can't be angry. He's not really good at that either.
Where...
I mean, I feel like I get more of a sense of, angry Peter in Andrew Garfield's than angry and depressed.
Especially in the fight that he has with Uncle Ben. You see the anger in him, and he wears it very well. This is angsty Peter Parker. And I'm not gonna lie, I love the rooftop scenes in the Tobey Maguire movies, I kind of like the skateboard scenes of Peter Parker figuring out his powers in the skate park.
Yes, I like that too. I like skater boy Peter Parker.
And yeah, we don't have the organic web shooters, but that's because this is high-tech Peter Parker. He's trying to figure out how to become Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, it was also in response to, like...
It was in response to all the hate that they had because of the organic webs.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see why, because that... Like, this is closer to the comic books than that. And there's also the thing with... This is the second time we've seen Uncle Ben die. That's why we don't see it in the Tom Holland movies, because people were getting tired of seeing it. Yeah. But here, while there's no Flint Marko to kill him, or the one, I forget his name, I'd say this is a lot more like Spider-Man, where we don't really know the killer, or if we... To be honest, I haven't really read those storylines, but I'm pretty sure Peter has to go on this big thing to figure out who the killer is, and it's not as easy as, oh, he's in this abandoned building. And that's what we see here. He's going after every suspect that might have been the killer, despite him knowing what the killer looks like, essentially, because he, again in this movie, helps the killer escape from robbing the store. Here, this is how Peter learns to become a hero. Like, at first, it is the vengeance thing that Tobey Maguire went through.
Yes.
But also, it's like, at a certain point, he's forced to give up on the vengeance and work towards fighting his very first villain in this movie. This is essentially exactly like the comics. Kirk Connors is trying to fix his deformity, his missing arm, and in doing so, he turns himself into the Lizard. Your basic story in a lot of DC and Marvel stories. Like, I'm pretty sure they did this with Killer Croc.
Yes.
Which is pretty much the response to the Lizard in DC. And I kind of like the Lizard. Like, he gets close to Peter. He's very similar to Octavius, Dr. Octavius.
Yes.
In this movie. Peter helps him, but then they learn too late that the formula doesn't completely work. But yeah, no, I also like the little fight in the sewers. Like, this is the start of photography Peter. Like, he takes pictures, he's...
Yeah, but he doesn't, like, work for the Daily Bugle.
No, not yet. Like, I think they do that in, like, the third movie, if we ever get it. Which we're supposed to, hopefully, with all the hype that it's getting right now. It's also kind of sad that, Gwen Stacy's father dies in this movie, due to a claw to the chest and out his back. Because he had to be a hero, he had to do his job, and there was kind of that foreshadowing this where Gwen said, I fear someday that my father is going to have a gun in his hand and he's never going to come back. Because that's his job.
It's ultimately very sad because, like, he finally, like, accepts Peter and, like...
And they're willing to work together.
And, you know, I guess it's good that he, like, signed off on his relationship with Gwen, but at the same time...
We all know where it's gonna go in the next movie.
Yeah...
Like, Peter can't be in a movie without a relationship with someone.
Right.
Supposedly, in the next movie, we're gonna get Felicity Jones, aka... not Catwoman, Black Cat, but sadly, it's like a cameo and that's it.
I think we didn't touch on the POV
oh my God,
web
yes.
shooting. So cool. That was a much welcomed addition. I think that if this movie did anything good, I feel like that was one of the best elements here.
It's sadly they only do it for like a short time. Like, we didn't get it in the Tobey Maguire movies because that was focusing more on like the view or the over-the-shoulder view.
When this movie came out, didn't they have it like in 3D or whatever?
I'd assume so because this is the era of 3D.
Yeah, around that time.
You also said you didn't like one scene, the train scene.
Uh-huh.
Yes, in this movie. There was a scene you said where he's beating up civilians on accident.
Oh, I just felt very uncomfortable watching him accidentally beat the shit out of people who didn't deserve it.
He also did kind of accidentally strip that woman.
Yeah, accidentally strip the woman and then accidentally beat the shit out of guys who didn't deserve it.
This does do a lot of the tropes that we've seen in multiple movies, but I'm gonna say they kind of did it better in a way. Like, I mean,
Perhaps.
I'm not...
I mean, like, I feel like every new version, they, like, you know, add something to it, and there's, like, some...
I mean, I do
kinda
agree
lore.
the subway scene was kind of...
It was just uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable. But that's one mistake in a lot of good things in this movie. I mean, I still don't care about the Peter's parents' connection to Oscorp and
that
shit.
I remember people complaining about that specifically, like it was like his like destiny, I guess, or something like that. Sorry.
I think it's more like it shouldn't have been brought into the movie because Peter already has family. Like, he already has Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
Right.
So why did we need the
parents?
The parents when they're very...
Yeah, like this was all connected. It's, you know, it's...
I mean, literally, they're not even in any of the comics. I think they're like in 2. And either way, Ben and May still take care of him even when they were around.
Right.
And that is kind of referenced in here when Uncle Ben says, after a while, they never called until that night that they brought you to us. Ben is a good father figure, where Richard Parker is kind of a piece of shit. Despite what he's doing with Oscorp, or whether he's a spy or a SHIELD agent, it doesn't matter. I also like the costume, like with the lenses. It's very inventive. I also like the first time he actually saves a kid.
Right.
Where he gives his mask up. This kid knows his face, and he keeps his secret. And they use it as they use the mask as like a security thing to show that the boy is alright if he climbs up, if he trusts Spider-Man, that everything's gonna be alright. This is very similar to most of the burning building scenes that we see in the Spider-Man movies. And that has a huge payoff in it, if you remember, because he saved the kid. The father turns out to be a construction worker, and does kind of a tribute to what they did in Spider-Man 2, with the New Yorkers standing up for Spider-Man. Any final thoughts?
I feel like this is like, it doesn't hold up in some ways, but I feel like it was just like relevant like for the time. I feel like it's still a pretty okay Spider-Man movie. It's just like, I don't know, not something that would be made today, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I still think it's like better than the second one, and is better than it's better than Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's better than Spider-Man 3.
Yes.
Or
for sure.
Far Way Home.
I think that Spider-Man 1 and 2 are still my favorites. I feel like maybe this one. I haven't watched the Tom Holland Spider-Mans yet, so I don't know where I would rank this one.
Oh, this is gonna be fun then.
I feel like yeah. I think we should do like a ranking like at the end of the series.
We should definitely do, but
yeah.
I guess my rating for this, because I didn't care about the parents' storyline, like, they're bringing that back in the next movie and it's gonna become overdone, but, I think I'd give this at least an 8 out of 10. Like, it's not better than 2 and 1. It's nowhere near better than Into the Spider-Verse or...
I think that that's a pretty like fair rating. I might go a little bit lower and say like a 7.
Yeah.
I'd say like more like a 7.
It's definitely in the top 5 for this.
Yeah.
Like, there are worse Spider-Man movies in this
Definitely.
trilogy.
Yeah, like
Or this
after
franchise.
Yes. Like I feel like after the third Spider-Man movie, they needed something like this.
They definitely did. Like, it's a fair reboot that we needed.
Oh, def. Alright.
But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the little notification bell for more videos. If there are characters in a comic book that don't need to be brought back, don't bring them back.
Don't bring back Uncle Ben. Just don't do it.
I mean, Uncle Ben is fine. Just don't bring back the people that we don't care about and don't ever have an attachment to.
Okay.
Like the parents.
Oh, I see. All right. Bye.
Have a great night, guys.